Camera, action, take one. Hello there, folks. It's time to do another tag that's been going around in the vinyl community. I'm talking about Miss 80s Music's movie music tag. Beth had put together 20 questions about soundtracks and scores and so on. So, hello there, Beth. Hope you're doing all right. I thought it would be a good idea to jump on this. Even though my soundtrack collection isn't that big, it is okay big, but it could have been a lot bigger actually. Much because I prefer these that are original composed songs for the movie, and instead of these soundtrack compilation, they put together the latest hits that are played in the soundtrack and releasing it. It doesn't give me that much because many of these songs I have on 45 and I have the album for them. I prefer when it is original composed music for the movie itself and then released as a soundtrack. So I've been culling away a lot of these compilations in order to make space for original composed soundtrack music. So let's start to answer these 20 questions. Number one, how many soundtracks, scores, that I will from now on call S&S, did you purchase in 2022? I purchased 2. Haven't been finding more actually. 2, your oldest S&S soundtrack score. I had to do a little bit of thinking because I haven't gone through all 78s, but most of these are re-recordings by other artists than the one who plays in the movie, of course. So I went for the vinyl format, and then I think these are seen as the oldest. And I'm talking about a biopic, even though that word wasn't that common back then, in 1955, 56, as we're talking about here. It is the Benny Goodman story, biopic about the career and life of Benny Goodman. And Steve Allen plays Benny Goodman, though he doesn't play clarinet, he plays piano. So he didn't hardly know anything of how to play a clarinet. So Benny Goodman had to go into the studio with his band and record the music himself. And that then heard in the movie, and then of course released on physical format. And this is, from what I understand, the original releases, EP releases of the music from the Benny Goodman story with Benny Goodman himself. 1955. Newest S&S that you added to collection. This one I showed in my latest vinyl and CD update. So this is pretty new. The original soundtrack from Cat People by Georgia Moroder. We have a preferred format. Now, as I've seen during the years, I'm not that picky about format, CD, vinyl. I buy them both with pleasure. But to say something, of course I say vinyl. Of course it's funnier to have them on vinyl still. Actually, I like them both, of course. Favorite soundtrack label, there I had to leave a blank because I have no favorite soundtrack label. I don't know that much about labels that have been releasing soundtracks. Just to say something, I could say Walt Disney recordings because, of course, I like movie music from Walt Disney. But actually, I don't have that much knowledge about that. Labels when it comes to jazz, I'm good to check on. And labels overall, I have pretty good check on. But when it comes to soundtrack releases, I have not that much check on it. And who released the most and so on. I was thinking of the Bond movies, but they also are released on various labels through the years. So I have to leave a blank on that. If I'm saying Walt Disney recorded records, but I don't have that much by them. Favorite soundtrack that includes both score music and songs. Don't have that much that contains both instrumental stuff and hits. The Bond, my Bond collection, of course, but they generally contains one normal hit song, and that is the official Bond theme, and then there are the instrumental scores. But there is some few exceptions, and one of them is The Living Daylights, and that contains two vocal songs. And that is, of course, the main theme by Aha, and it is If There Was a Man by Pretenders. So I'm saying this one because it's overall a really great James Bond soundtrack. Sounds very much 80s, but I like it. We have a soundtrack triple dip, and I had hard time enough with that question in the original vinyl tag, and I have even harder with this one because I don't have soundtracks in two formats. I don't have movies in two different formats either, so I have to draw a blank there. I have them in all of them in one format. An S&S from a milestone year. And milestone in this case, I have chosen my birth year, 1974, which this soundtrack album came out. Claudine, a movie featuring Diane Carroll and James Earl Darth Vader Jones. And the music is composed by Curtis Mayfield and performed by Gladys Knight and the Pips. And this is a really, really great, funky and smooth, soulish soundtrack that has only one fault. It's way too short. It's only half an hour long. But it is a really, really great one. Amazing one. From the time when they actually could compose an entire soundtrack with new composed songs for the movie with that sounds like hits, but still it wasn't a greatest hits compilation with old classics they have been playing in the movie. So this is a really great one. Favorite soundtrack from your childhood, number 9. And this one is a soundtrack from a movie I have only seen half, I think, and I thought it was a really bad movie. Maybe because I'm no fan of Stanley Kubrick, and I thought it was not my taste of movie at all. But the music I heard as a child when a friend of mine copied it on a cassette to me, and I thought it was really fascinating with the electronic versions of classical music. And then of course I'm talking about the music from Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, Walter Carlos. And this is really fascinating with the classical the electronic versions of classical music. and on top of that, the 13 minutes long time step that is experimental, like a symphony, electronic symphony going through, a science fiction symphony going through. It's really, really amazing, the soundtrack, and it is nostalgia, no doubt about it. And I might be coming back to this one later on. We have Best S&S opening title track. James Bond movies always opens with, if you count out of course the small part with the James Bond theme, but it always is with the theme James Bond song. So I thought I would make it easy for myself and pick one of them. So I picked A View to a Kill, whose opening title track is the main title by Duran Duran. A very, very today underrated song actually, but it is one of my favorite James Bond themes, definitely. And as a little outsider, I could also pick this one, Goldfinger, the classic Shirley Bassey theme. It's very, very big and powerful and amazing, definitely. I could have picked any James Bond soundtrack because they are really great one. We have ending credits track. And there I go back to soundtrack I've already shown, because the Living Daylight movie ends with If There Was a Man by Pretenders. What a really, really great one. We have Best Movie Love Theme. I'm not that much huge fan of those love themes. Many of them are of course very good, but many of them are extremely overplayed, and the best ones I don't have as a physical format, I guess. I don't have Cavatina from Deer Hunter and so on, but many of them are released as singles and becomes extremely overplayed. This one might be on the line of the overplay, but I still think it's a really, really great song. I haven't seen the movie though. It's a romantic comedy, and rom-com is normally not my general style, but it is a great song. Wet Love is All Around, from 4 Weddings and a Funeral. We have favorite S&S that helps you relax, and classical music is always good for relaxation. So I picked Amadeus, with the music by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Original soundtrack recording with Academy St. Martin in the Fields that's conducted by Neville Mariner. This one I have been having in for extremely many years. First on a cassette copy and then on this vinyl. An S&S that makes you motivated. That was a little bit tough. But I picked this one of the few that I have that contains various hits, because it's a really, really great songs, and there are songs on this one that I haven't found on any other place actually. I'm talking about the original motion picture soundtrack from Ruthless People, with Bette Midler and Danny DeVito movie that I also haven't seen, but it contains some really great 80s songs. We have Billy Joel and Modern Woman, a very forgotten song by him. And we have Kool and the Gang and Dance Champion, one of Kool and the Gang's best song, if not the best song that they have been doing, maybe in competition for Cherish. But it's a really funky and great song that I haven't been able to find on many other places. But otherwise, we see Paul Young, Wherever I Lay My Hat. I have it both on single and the No Pally album. Nicole McLeod, Don't You Want My Love, a really great classic, but I have it on Spotify. So, but this one I keep because it contains still so much great stuff and stuff that I don't have in any other formats. And it's also so great, so it's of course gives me more. It motivates me to with this great funky stuff. Favorite TV soundtrack score SMS. I love TV themes. A sadly forgotten thing today. But I in the 80s they were really great. I could have picked many, but I wanted to have something that I have, and many of them I don't have. But the theme from Automan, the classic the theme from Knight Rider, and the theme from Mission Impossible. This by Lalo Schifrin, but the 80s version that I don't have. But I like the Lalo Schifrin's original also. But the 80s version that is really magnificent and powerful. But I picked Miami Vice, which is its theme is made by Jan Hammer, and it's always with the synth drums, the synthesizer, and the disco beat has always been a favorite of mine since I heard it the first time as a kid. And this also then contains a whole lot of good stuff. We have an underrated 80s. I picked two here, two choices, underrated stuff. First of all, a Swedish one, because we here in Sweden, when it comes to 80s music, have been for many years been seen it as the 80s as a little shameful. Not that much today, but it was like that for many years. But today, normally, it is a little. We see it as there are good stuff, but much that was cult classics. But as you know, I love the 80s, and this movie I've seen, the movie itself sucks. It's a really bad movie in my opinion. But the soundtrack contains so much great Swedish pop music. I'm talking about the Swedish movie P.S. Sista Sommaren, P.S. The Last Summer. Youth movie, call it a Swedish version of a college movie. But it contains so much great 80s stuff. A lot of them, of course, I do have, but this one I definitely keeping because this is a really great soundtrack. The soundtrack is far better than the movie. But I also like to show the soundtrack from the movie Electric Dreams that I haven't seen. But it contains a whole lot of great 80s new wave-ish stuff here. With P.P. Arnold, we have Georgie Moroder, Philoki, we have a lot of Georgie Moroder, Heaven 17, Culture Club, and Jeff Lynne, with some of the best tracks that he have made, in my opinion, as a solo anyway. So this one is a little bit underrated because Electric Dreams didn't become a hit, a success from what I understand, movie-wise. But the soundtrack is really great. We have, if you could sell your entire collection and only keep one, which would you pick? Then I'm picking this one, It has everything. It is a beautiful soundtrack. It is magnificent arranged, and it also is, of course, nostalgia. Star Wars. And this is, of course, the original with John Williams. And Star Wars is a magnificent space symphony, music-wise. I've been a huge fan of this since I heard it the first time when I was in the fifth or sixth grade. And then I hadn't seen the movies either yet, but I still fell for the music. We have a white whale, an SNS that it took you forever to acquire. And then, once again, I will show Clockwork Orange, because I had it on a cassette copy, as I said, but I got that one back in 1987, and it took me almost 20 years to get a hold of this one, to find the album itself. Boy, was I happy. An SNS that you are still on the hunt for. Well, I'm far from complete when it comes to my James Bond collection, but of course, the two first, Dr. No and From Russia with Love, would be something I would really like to have, maybe especially Dr. No, the first one. And finally, tag at least one person that loves movie music, or show an SNS with a price tag. And I take the easy way out, showing one with a price tag, and I'm taking this. The price tag, I bought it for $1. And this is the French movie Betty Blue. I don't know how to say 37.2 degrees in French, but Betty Blue. A movie that I'm no huge fan of these big French movies, but this is an exception because this is actually a really good, great love movie. Actually, it's a really great one. And the soundtrack is really classical. It's really a great soundtrack. So, my movie soundtrack music tag. So I hope that every one of you, including Beth, if she sees this, are satisfied with my response. I hope to find more soundtracks. They are really great. They are relaxing, done right. So I really hope to find more. So until next time, I hope that every one of you have a really nice time, no matter where you are, no matter what you do. Take care and so long.